Look, I'm trying to connect a moderator. Hello, everyone. So I think I have the moderator added as well. Let's give it some time to set it up. Again, it's very nice to see everybody here. Welcome, welcome, Professor Ibrahim. And then, do we have Martin here? I think my moderator is here. Hello, Martin. Yes. Okay. So I can see.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Hello, Martin. Yeah, I can hear you. Thanks for coming, Martin. Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome. So we can actually start. But before we start, I will also so that people who can join us can also join. Those who can also look at it can do that as well. Okay.
Sounds
So,
good.
Martin, do you have control?
I have limited control, but I can do most things.
Okay. Are you able to move things around as well? Those kind of things, yeah.
Yes, I can do that.
Nice. Okay. So no, I'm new to this, and I'm just trying to explore this space. All right, welcome everyone. My name is Solomon Boakye-Yiadom. I'm an associate professor at York University in the mechanical engineering department. My research is in the areas of metal 3D printing and also advanced alloy discovery, as well as material characterization under extreme loading conditions. Also, my research has to do with trying to develop these materials, not just for structural applications, but for biomedical applications as well. And that is what I do at York University. Now, joining me today is my very good friend, Professor Issah Ibrahim, and I'll ask him to introduce himself as well. So, Professor Ibrahim, over to you.
All right. Thank you, Prof, for the invitation. So, I'm Dr. Issah Ibrahim. So, currently, I'm actually an assistant professor at the Saginaw Valley State University here in Michigan. So, I actually joined the SVSU in the fall of 2024. Before joining SVSU, I was actually an assistant professor at the Pennsylvania State University in Pennsylvania. So, a little bit about myself. My research focuses actually on computational electromagnetics. So, basically, I use finite element or numerical analysis for my work. So, I focus on EV, these electric vehicles, electrical machines, devices within the low frequency domain. I also solve coupled multiphysics problems, especially acoustic noise as well. So those are the areas that I actually focus on in terms of research. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And I'll also ask my moderator, Martin, to introduce himself.
Hi there. So this summer I'm working with Professor Solomon. I'm doing some material characterization and some properties, and as well as I'm just learning about the industry and related topics as well.
Thank you. Thanks, Martin. So the purpose of this whole thing is that we've been trying to talk about how people can actually gain or gain insight into looking for funded graduate opportunities. All right. In this case, the emphasis is on funded master's, PhD, postdoc in North America. All right. And that has been one of the things that we've been doing this for quite some time on WhatsApp, and we decided to now come online because we have a WhatsApp group. We have over like 500 people on the WhatsApp group since 2020. So this time around, we decided to come online and then use the other platforms to reach a wider audience and then get people to know that there are these opportunities out there that we can explore, and also how to go about it. So this is going to be a series of presentations for some time, but for today we're going to be starting with how do you look for funding? What is the process like? How do we go about securing funding, or maybe contacting professors in the first place? All right, that's how we're going to be going about it. Now I'll be talking more about Canada, and Professor Issah Ibrahim will be talking about the United States. All right, so that's really how we're going to be approaching this. I think, in the interest of time, if you have questions or anything, you can actually type them as we talk, and then we'll be more than happy to answer those questions as well. Now, some time ago, I got an email, and I'm talking about when I started, right? I got an email from a student from, I don't want to mention the country, but from Africa, right? And every single day, we get a lot of emails. People from Iran, from Bangladesh, from India, from China. Everybody is asking whether you have an open position, whether there is this, that, and all of that. And then you realize that the quality of the emails and the requests coming in from certain parts of the world is way higher than when you compare it to those coming in from our part of the world, all right? And then we realize that, okay, maybe it's because people just don't know how to go about this whole process, and then how to approach this, okay? Now, remember, if you did a STEM program, and I'm talking about biology, physics, chemistry, I'm talking about geology, engineering, health sciences, in any of these fields, it's so, and you have, let's say, a first class or a second class upper, it's so easy if you have the right information and you approach it the right way to look for funding, okay? Now, when I say easy, it doesn't mean that as soon as you send, somebody says yes, but there is no way you should go do a master's or a PhD and you have to pay for it. If you have a first class from a STEM program, from wherever in the world, especially in North America, all right? And that's why we want to actually do these kinds of webinars to talk about how do we secure funding, how do we contact profs, how do we get the opportunity to be able to send our CVs and transcript to profs to evaluate and all of that. And that is really the purpose for this. So from my angle, I'm going to start from Canada, okay? So this is where I'm based. And in Canada, for example, we have one main thing when you are coming from the STEM background. Profs go for grants from grant agencies like, the NSEC, which is the Natural Science Engineering Research Council of Canada, and from other bodies to be able to do the research. Now, when I go for the money to do the research, I need to find suitable people who can do the research. So that is really the whole idea. I have funding, and then this funding I got was, let's say, to build a new material for aircraft turbines, all right? Now, I have to look for suitable people who can get the work done. And that is where, as a prof, I come in looking at people who are interested in these areas, trying to interview them and get them on board to be able to do the work. That's from my side. All right. Somebody has finished their undergrad, they have a bachelor's degree, they want to go do a master's or a PhD program, okay? And they are also looking because maybe they cannot afford to pay tuition fees or anything like that. And so they are interested in trying to find out if there is somebody who has an open position and is willing to pay their tuition fees. All right. So you can see that there is a need from both ends. One, the prof is looking for somebody to do an awesome work for them because they have the grant. And then the other part is that there's a student who is interested in coming for a master's program or a PhD program and is also looking for funding. So this is where the whole synergy in terms of integration comes in. All right. And that is where I look at stuff like, okay, how do I find a student? Well, people send their CVs and their transcript and emails to me every single day. And then I look at it, and if I'm looking, I screen and then pick people, interview them. If they are suitable, I bring them on board as potential students. All right, and that is something that we've been doing for quite some time. So in my case, I wait for the emails to come in with the transcript, and then I'm able to do the evaluation and pick people for interviews. That is where it actually starts from. All right. So I think I'll pause here. I'll come back, and I'll also let Prof. Ibrahim talk about how the search is actually done, or his own angle from the United States, how it's done. Okay. So over to you, Professor Ibrahim.
Well, thank you very much. So pretty much America and Canada is pretty much similar, right? So there are two main ways of finding potential students for research. So one, you yourself, the professor, can actually post the position and then allow students to send in their, to email you with their resume, with their transcript, with their statement of purpose or research statement, and possibly with their GRE score, which is the graduate record examination, GRE, which is very, very important. We're going to be talking about that as well. And that is when you post. Or they can reach out to you, right? And then they can sort of try to sell themselves or try to convince you to take them on as a potential student. So how does it begin? So as the professors, we normally go look for funds. In America, you essentially go to, you can go to so many places. Normally we go to the National Science Foundation, NSF, and then you sell a proposal to NSF, and then you give them the amount of money that you need to execute that project. For example, a proposal that I actually sent was to develop an active noise canceling technology in aircraft. So you sell that idea, you give them the proposal, how you wish to accomplish it, and the benefit and everything. Then you send it out to NSF, and then they review it. And if you're lucky, let me put it that way, you get the funds. So assuming you have the funds. Also, you can also go to other agencies, like also companies, industry, because this is engineering, so we normally deal with the industry a lot. We have a direct connection with industry. So based on your research area, there are so many places you can actually consult. For example, I am into EV, so I can basically go to the auto industry, Stellantis, GM. These are places you can go to. You can also even go to Boeing. You can go to NASA, because I also specialize in acoustics. I solve coupled multi-physics problems. So assuming you have the money, now you need students to work with, right? So this is where you either post an advertisement asking for students to apply, or students will reach out to you because they say if Mahomet doesn't go to the mountains, the mountain will have to come to Mahomet. Actually, when you reach out to the supervisor, it's better. When we post, it gets very competitive. Okay. So when you reach out to us, there are certain things that we need to see in your the email that you send and the accompaniment, the attachments. And what we have noticed, as Dr. Boakye-Yiadom said, certain category of people, especially those coming from the Southeast Asian, Iran, the India, those areas, it looks as if these guys are skilled when they send the emails to you. It's like they've been guided. It's like razor sharp. It's like they hit the nail on the head. Whatever you want, all the ingredients are actually embodied in that email. So it's kind of very difficult to sort of reject those emails because they come with everything. It's like they hit the right keys. Unlike people, they send an email, then they lose the plot, the whole plot, and they sort of send a generic email to a professor, and in the email they don't really sell themselves well. It doesn't come with the right stuff. Even with the resume, you find serious errors in the resume. in their statement of purpose, and even other documents supporting their email. And even the timing of the email is also very critical. So that is what Doc and I are here today to actually talk about, educate our people on how to sort of put all these documents together and then send it out. And then hopefully you get a hit that, okay, you know what, I hope to proceed with your intent to start to research with me and all that. So that's the main reason why we're here today.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Ibrahim. So one of the main things that I want to draw people's attention to is that you can actually send cold emails to profs to look for opportunities. And then the second thing is that some of the positions are advertised, and so you can also apply to those advertised positions. All right. Now, the only distinction here is that if you are not careful, the advertised positions become so competitive. That is because we have so many people who are applying. Okay. And with that, it might reduce your chance if your file is not really way up there, And that is the only downside on waiting for the positions to be advertised before you apply. On the other hand, if you send cold emails to the prof, it's one of the best ways because it's either the prof is looking or the prof is not looking. That's it. And if they are looking and they've not had opportunity to advertise the position, they will be able to look at your email and then start from there. Now the question is, so what kind of how do we approach the profs? All right, how do we approach them? How do we know what they are doing so that we can send these emails? And I'll start from my side in Canada. All right, so if before you send an email to your prof, you have to check whether their background in terms of their research areas aligns with your background in terms of where you're coming from. Okay, and why am I saying this? I have had instances where students who are from, let's say, civil engineering, sending me emails about biomedical engineering, for example. And right from the word go, I know that there's no good match. Why? Because the project I'm working on could be a biomedical engineering project. And then this person is coming from a civil engineering background. And even though they are kind of related in a way, I'll prefer somebody who is coming from, let's say, biomedical engineering or biology, or let's say even mechanical engineering, as opposed to somebody who's coming from civil engineering because of what? The basic background. That is, what am I looking for as a prof? I'm looking for somebody with the background to do the work. That's all I'm looking for. I'm not looking for somebody that I'm going to pay to learn how to do the research or build the background for my research before I bring them on board. No. I'm looking for somebody who has a background that I can actually help to build up, and then they get to do the work. Okay? And that is to say that if you send me an email and you're not coming from my research background, or let's say I'm in mechanical engineering, but my research is on material science and engineering, all right? So if you are not sending me an email from these kinds of traditional areas, it becomes difficult to see you as a direct match for the research. Okay, so make sure that if you are sending the email to the prof, your background actually aligns with what the prof is doing. Now, I did aerospace engineering for my first degree, all right? And then when I was sending the emails, I sent it to a prof who is in material science, mechanical engineering. In fact, it was pure material science. Now, you can see that in engineering, when we talk about mechanical engineering, aerospace engineering, materials engineering, they are all related, And so there is that good switch that can go on around these areas, all right? And so if somebody is from aerospace, I've picked students from aerospace before, I've picked students from mechanical, from materials, for them to come do their master's or their PhD with me. And the background is really there. You don't have to start from scratch before they do the work, all right? But in scenarios where students are sending emails and their backgrounds do not align with what the prof is doing, that's a red flag right there. They say, no, you're not going to get any response, right? Because it shows that you did not even check whether you have the prerequisite background to do the work or not. Okay, so that is the first thing. And the reason why I bring this up is that sometimes some people from, let's say, geology will want to switch to something in biomedical engineering, all right? And when that happens, you might have gotten a work experience in this area, but then the prof might not see you to be somebody who has the prerequisite background to do the research in biomedical engineering, even though you are coming from geological engineering. All right. So that is the first thing that I always advise people not to do. Make sure that your background aligns with what the professor is doing before you send them an email. That is one. Number two, what do you send in the email, or in terms of attachment, what do you attach? Regardless of whatever you are saying in the email, the first thing to attach is your transcript. The second thing to attach is your CV. Okay, so your transcript and your CV, and then actually these two can help secure something or not, because as soon as I see your email, I just go to check your transcript. Is this person a first class, second class upper? All right, or is this person in the field or in the area, let's say materials engineer or mechanical? Those are the first things I'm looking at before I even go ahead to look at your CV. Now, why do I limit it to people with first class or second class upper? If the person doesn't have a second class upper, you will not even get admission to the school. That's the first thing, because the admission requirement is a B plus, which is a second class upper. All right. And so if you are looking for funding, it's either you are in a first class or a strong second class upper. In that case, I know very well that you can even get admission. Else, I can offer you the funding and you will still not get admission to the program. So that is the first thing to look at on that side. And then lastly, what should go in the email is very simple. You are interested in the research area that the prof is doing. You want to find out if they have open positions for graduate students. All right. And that is all. It's very simple. This is because you don't want to be writing a whole essay. No prof is going to sit down and read that. I'm just going to go straight to look at your transcript and your CV. And that can sell you or, take you out of the whole pack. Right. So, Prof. Ibrahim, how does it work also from the US?
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. So, as I said early on, it's pretty much similar, just that there are some subtle differences. So, essentially, first and foremost, what you need to do is check the program requirements, whether you meet the required GPA or the CWA. Here in America, we use the 4.0 system, and some coming from Africa elsewhere, they use the percentile sort of system. So make sure you meet the prereqs for the program. Normally, they're going to give you a range. A minimum is probably 3.5 is a decent 3.5 minimum up to 4.0, right? And sometimes students that are coming from Africa especially do have a CWA system where it's normally out of 100. So make sure there are some agencies that sort of can evaluate your transcript in conjunction with your degree and then give you a 4.0 scale system. So in that way, you're going to know whether you meet the minimum or you're even above the minimum. So first and foremost, the prereq or the minimum is very essential. So make sure you have the minimum. Now, assuming you're trying to apply to my school, you have the minimum GPA required to get into the program. Now you visit. So for master's and PhD, as Prof said, it is essential that you have a supervisor that you can actually work with. It is very, very essential. There are some schools that are going to tell you it is not really needed. I'll get to that point later on. But where it is actually needed, especially at the PhD level, you can get away with it at the master's level, but not at the PhD level. So let's just say you need a supervisor to work with for your master's or PhD. First and foremost, try to visit their website. Pretty much everyone has a website. Even if they don't, you can also read their works or publications. Try to familiarize yourself with their website. Get to know what they really do or are doing. Read their works, read their publications, as many as you can. Okay, that's going to give you a fair idea of what you're getting yourself into. And also show genuine interest in what they do. It's very, very critical because, for example, at the PhD level, it can be a big mess if you don't have genuine interest in what you are doing. We have seen lots of students sort of drop out because it was at some point it got very, very complicated for them to even to move forward. So make sure you have a genuine interest or passion for what I do or what we do. For example, myself, as I said, I specialize in computational electromagnetics, right? So basically, what I do is I use numerical analysis tools such as the finite element, finite difference to do analysis on low frequency electromagnetic devices. So first and foremost, make sure you have the requisite background. You have a very strong foundation in electromagnetics, right? In machine design or in multiphysics, solving coupled multiphysics problems, electromagnetic, structural, acoustic stuff. Okay. So let's assume you have all the prereqs, you have everything that I need to start off the research, right? So one, you have the background. Two, you show genuine interest in what I do. Now, what you do next is how to craft an email to the potential supervisor or advisor, and that is where it gets very critical. That's where people normally mess up. Okay. So your email to the supervisor must be very, very personalized. Don't throw in any generic email. It must be very brief. It must be at the same time, it must carry a lot of information. It must be informative. Number two. And also, make sure you attach all the necessary document that I need to kind of have a better assessment of the candidate. So what I normally expect. So in the email, you should have a subject line, a nice introduction, introducing yourself, then you just go straight to the point. And in the email also, you have to tell me, just briefly, nicely tell me what I do so that I know, okay, you actually visited my website, you familiarize yourself with my work, you're not just contacting anyone, you know what you're about, right? And then tell me what you really like about my research and how you think you can fit in, right? Then in the email, try to attach, as Prof said, your CV. So with a CV, we said CV, not resume. There's a bit of a difference. So resume is sort of like a summary. It's like a low version of a CV. So what we need is a detailed information about yourself, what you've done in the past in terms of research, what you've done. If you have industry experience, that sort of relates to my work as well. But it has to be tailored towards what I do, not just any generic CV. Okay, so you are applying to a laboratory that essentially specializes in computational electromagnetics. For example, you don't send me a CV that has lots of stuff to do with power systems. That is a complete deviation or aberration, because I wouldn't, come on, you're actually inviting a square peg in a round hole. So you want to craft your CV or design in such a way that it fits my work. Okay. So also, that is the CV. You also try to add your statement of purpose, or you can call it your research statement. In that statement, you tell me essentially some of the things that I do, how it aligns with your career goals, and then if possible, if you've actually started some work that relates to my work, you can point them out and how you hope to achieve or how you think it's going to benefit my research. That's also something that you have to also consider. And also try to add your transcript. So if your transcript has a CWA system, which sometimes is very difficult for us to decipher or sort of understand what you really did, try to get the conversion from, there are agencies like the WES, they're going to convert this into the 4.0 scale or system. So you can also do that as well. So we can actually know, or we can understand the transcript. Okay. So you have your resume, you have your CV, you have your transcript, you have your statement of purpose, or you have your research statement. And one important thing, which you also, if possible, if you can add, if you have it, try to add your GRE score. It is very, very, very important. I'm going to stress on that as well. GRE score makes an otherwise impossible admission possible here in the United States. Because why? The GRE is a standardized test. It actually evaluates your ability to do a research, to be successful in grad school from 4 main perspectives. One is going to look at your verbal reasoning. Two is going to look at your quantitative reasoning. It's also going to be looking at your critical thinking skills, and finally your analytical writing skills. So anyone with a good score, a decent score, high score in GRE, even if your GPA or your CWA is not good enough, you can get away with it. Because in my experience, any student that has a very strong GRE score will definitely succeed. Because remember, you're coming from a system where we don't really know how you were taught. We don't know how education was rendered. But then the standardized test is something that is conducted in America, and they know. So this is going to be, let's say it is a last chance for you to drink from the last chance saloon. So you messed up, but this is going to whitewash your wrongs. So when you have a GRE and it's a very good score, trust me, it's going to catch our attention. So make sure you have that as well. So I'll pause for now and then allow Prof to come in.
Thank you very much, Professor Ibrahim.
Sorry, before you guys get started, there's a question in the chat. It says, can someone in a health informatics field apply for masters in engineering and get full funding?
Can you come again?
Yeah. Can someone in a health informatics field apply for masters in engineering and get full funding?
Okay, so someone from the health informatics field, right? Now, so the whole idea is that, okay, if somebody's coming from health informatics, okay, and then applying to a prof in computer science or computer engineering or software engineering, and they're going to be doing something on, let's say, data analysis or analytics, or they're going to do something machine learning, something in, the AI field, then I can actually say that it's possible, all right? Just that maybe you might not get a health project to work on, but you're going to be applying or transferring the skill sets from health informatics to this whole machine learning thing, AI thing. And the reason why I say this is that I've hired students from computer science, I've hired students from software engineering, I've hired students from physics and all of that, okay, coming to do material science and engineering, okay. And that is because the kind of projects they worked on, the kind of skill set that they built over the years makes them a good candidate for doing the specific project that I'm looking at, okay. So in this case, I'll say it's possible because of the kind of skill set they built up from the health informatics. Prof. Ibrahim, what do you think about this as well?
Okay, so it's possible, but then again, you have to make sure it's going to be a bit of a challenge. When you're always moving into engineering, it's going to be a bit of a challenge because it's a big shift, and most of the stuff that we do is computationally intensive. So to begin with, make sure you have a very strong background in mathematics, okay, and also you know how to code very well. It's possible. Where is he coming from? Is it computer science or
Health informatics.
health informatics? Okay, so I would say it depends, right? It depends. For example, if you come from health informatics, and as Prof said, if you have very good foundation in machine learning, right? For example, and I've had projects where I needed to sort of build models that would predict the performance of machines, electrical machines, right? Using machine learning tools. We call it surrogate models or model. So if I have, and we've had students come from computer science using their machine learning techniques or skills, we just give them the data and then they train their models on the data, and then we see how best their models can actually predict the performance of the machines before we actually implement the design of the machine as well, the machine. So pretty much what happens is they may not understand the inner physics of what they're doing, but they can apply their skill in terms of building models, training models to predict the performance of the machine. So we have done that, or I have done that in the past, working with people from computer science. Health informatics, I'm sort of unsure how they're going to fit into my research, especially when you don't have a background in electromagnetics, which essentially is very, very challenging topic or a course in electrical engineering. And Prof will attest to this. So I don't know how they can fit in, but they can fit in with if they have some sort of machine learning knowledge. Yes.
Thank you. So that's one of the main things. Now, as Prof said, one of the things you have to do is what attach your CV. So somebody who wants to transfer from health informatics to engineering, let's say biomedical engineering, for example, it means you have to do a very good job with the CV. That's really important if you want full funding. Because let's say I have a project. Currently, I have a project which is on concussion. All right. So we are developing what we call biofidelic head neck model, and this is supposed to help us predict what goes on in the brain when you have an impact event. Okay, so I have students who have built up. When I say biofidelic, it means that it behaves like an actual native tissue. Okay? So we have the skull that has been built, we have the brain that has been built. We're working on the meninges. We have sensors in all of them and all that. All right. Now, if I'll pick somebody from with a health informatics background, I'm going to look at what they have in the CV. Okay, what skill set are they going to bring on board? Is it a good match for this project that I'm working on? If not, then I'm just going to pass and go look for somebody from either computer science or biomedical or software engineering and those kind of things. Okay, so if you are changing or switching backgrounds, then please note that you have to do a very good job on the CV to demonstrate that you're a direct match for the specific project that the prof is working on, for them to even consider you for funding. All right, that's one of those things you have to pay particular attention to. So I can see that the educational background becomes a determining factor in this case. Okay. Now, when Prof was initially talking about things you submit, we talked about CV, we talked about transcript. You have a very nice GRE score. Why not? If you have a good research statement or statement of purpose, that would be awesome. All right. Now, that can, especially with the research statement in Canada, that can actually be a good thing or a bad thing depending on one particular thing. Now, I'll explain this. I do research in metal 3D printing. Some of them is in biomedical engineering. Some of them is in material characterization. As we speak now, I have grant for machine learning, a machine learning project. Okay, so we are discovering new alloys using machine learning. Okay, mechanical data analysis and all of that. So if somebody sends me an email that they are interested in a biomedical project, they don't know what I have money for right now. I'm the only one who knows what I have money for. And currently I have money for machine learning, which is more on alloy discovery. We call it computational material science, integrated computational material science. And then also, if somebody is from material science and engineering and has a background in Python programming and all of that, this person becomes a good candidate that I can consider, all right now. Now, when you are sending me your statement of purpose, you might not know which kind of area I have funding for. And assuming you go stress on biomedical engineering in your statement of purpose, I would take it that this candidate is interested in projects in biomedical engineering. And even though they have the background, they might not be suitable for my current project because I don't have money for biomedical engineering, I have money for machine learning. Okay. So that is one of the ways that if you are not careful, if you are too specific on this, on what you want to do, you might miss out because the prof can have money for A and not B. And they wouldn't want to say that I'm going to push you to B when you have stated that you want something in A. Okay, so there's a nice way I would say I can either have funding for this particular area. If they are nicer, they can say, oh, I do have money for this. All right, but remember, you might have tailored your CV and your email and everything to biomedical engineering. And that's going to be a little bit tough to navigate around. So it's something that you have to be cautious of. And the reason why I bring it up is because I've seen scenarios where people have sent me emails about aerospace engineering. They go read my profile, they know that I did aerospace engineering. And so because they are also coming from aerospace, they try to write about a project in aerospace engineering. And I'm like, okay, I don't have money for aerospace projects right now. I have money for material science. I have money for metal 3D printing, for machine learning, alloy discovery, those kinds of things. Okay. So be very cautious of how, if you are too specific, the prof might interpret that to mean that you're looking for things in a particular area. And then even though you're a very good match, because of your interest in that area and for their lack of funds in that specific area, they can say no. Okay? So that is one of the things to keep in mind. Now, the second thing is that people send emails to professors and they send me about 2 or 3, 5 or 10, and then that's it. They get a no response for all of them and they stop. Now, remember, there is not one particular time where profs have money and the other time they don't. No. There are different grants with different deadlines and different dates of announcing whether you got the grant or not. As we speak in Canada, the biggest one is actually 31st of March. Okay, so anybody who applied last year November got a yes or a no by 31st of March. Okay, and so you realize that anybody who comes looking for position in April or May, they stand a very high chance of getting because the profs have received their yes or no, and they know whether they have the money coming or not. Okay, so knowing the timing in terms of when they have a yes or a no can also be a big plus. But the whole idea is that different grants have different dates or deadlines for application and also dates for announcing whether they won or not. I have one in, it's going to come in September. I don't know whether I'm going to get it or not. But as soon as it comes in September, if I get it, then I'll go out looking for people because the work has to start now. All right. And so if you send to a prof and they say no, it's okay. You can go and go apply to some other profs. And then maybe 4 or 5 months, if you think that you want to go back or circle back to them, you can go back and ask them. But don't get sent to 10 profs and then relax and say that, oh, all the 10 profs said no, so maybe I'm not a good match. No, maybe you are, but they just don't have funding at the particular time that you sent your package in. Okay, and that shouldn't discourage you. I have somebody, and maybe he's online now. This person sent to over 40, 50 people, profs, and they all said no.
I think it was 60.
Yeah, all right. They all said no, and the 65th, the next prof, which is the 61st prof, after saying no, said yes. And this guy is here right now doing a PhD. Okay, so he sent to 60 profs. Everybody said no, assuming they got discouraged and said, "Oh no, I'm not a good match." Then they miss out on this. All right. So the moral of this story is that you have to keep on sending. Sometimes you have to take a step back and check your CV again. Why? If you are sending the same CV to 3 different profs or 4 different profs, you're going to be in trouble because all the research we do, they are different from each other. I'm in the same department with profs who are doing only polymer research, profs who are doing only composite research, even though they are all material science. All right. And so if you are sending the same CV to me and all these 3 other profs, you might miss out on tailoring the CV to suit what the prof is doing. This is where the work comes in. And a lot of people are not willing to do this work. Okay. Sitting down and trying to tailor the CV to suit the research that the prof is doing is very critical. Because hey, remember, everybody who's sending the email to the prof, they have either a first class or a strong second class upper. And there's nothing you can change about your transcript at this moment. But you can change something about the CV because you have the ability to tailor the CV to suit what the prof is doing. Okay. So if you want to sit down and put in the work and also check the profile of every single one of those profs, make sure that the CV you send to them is tailored to what they are doing, then you become a potential candidate for an interview because they can actually see what a direct one. It's just like looking for a job. If there's an advertised job and you just send any CV out there, your chance of getting called is really slim. But if you sit down and tailor the CV to the job advertisement, in this case, what the prof is doing, their profile and everything, that will help you to get called for an interview or not. Okay, so that is where this whole thing comes in. And I will throw it to Professor Ibrahim to also shed light on this as well in the US.
Okay, so whilst you were talking, I was picking on 1 or 2 things which I would also want to magnify a little bit. For example, I'm going to use your own example. When you are coming from an aerospace engineering background, which obviously when you arrived in Canada, you wanted to, or when you were making the the decision to move to Canada for further studies. You wanted to pursue something, an advanced program in aerospace engineering, but it never panned out as you wanted, right? You ended up in the materials engineering laboratory, and here you are today. Okay. So the moral of the story, what I want to say is, guys should be try to be very, very flexible, flexible enough to sort of switch at a moment's notice. Remember, these kind of programs involve a lot of money, which obviously you don't have. So if you find yourself in a laboratory where someone is carrying out a research in a certain area and has a lot of money, do not hesitate to explore. I also can also use myself as an example. When I wanted to do a PhD, I wanted to come to McGill or go to McGill University for that, right? And in my master's, I actually specialized in power systems, and I really loved it. So in my PhD, I was like, okay, let me take this to the next level. Let me specialize in power systems. Let me do power systems, specialize in smart grids, micro grids, because the grids were getting smarter, and I think there's a lot of work in that area. Unfortunately, the prof working in that area said, no, I don't need students. Not that I was a bad student, probably he didn't have money. Eventually became very good friends. And as a matter of fact, I'm actually sitting in one of the labs at McGill as a visiting prof. So he is downstairs. So, and then I met my supervisor who eventually worked with me, and he was specializing in computation electromagnetics. And remember, I am coming from power background. I need a very strong foundation in computation in electromagnetics, which I only had the undergraduate knowledge, not good enough to carry out an advanced research. But you know what? That is where the money was, because he was willing to put me on a scholarship called the McGill Engineering Doctoral Award. So I had to sort of psych myself up, whip myself into shape, and then take on this challenge. So sometimes try to be very flexible. Don't put up this hard line policy of if not A, never. Else you're gonna stay in one position for a very long time. So be flexible, number one. And also, when you send out the emails to the profs, rejection hurts, but it doesn't mean you are a failure, or it's just a delay. So a no to a very strong academic record means many things. One, it could be that the professor doesn't really have money to sponsor your work or to fund your research, number one. Or two, they are not hiring. Or three, they have maybe better candidates. Yeah, you may not be the best. So one of three things. But rejection doesn't hurt. Try another time, even probably to the same professor at another time. Maybe I didn't have money today, but I surely would have money in the future. And even that will actually increase your chances, because you applied to me last year and I said no. Then 2025, you showed up again. Okay, I'm still interested in doing your work. That is persistence, someone who is determined. And actually, I'm going to put you on the, let me say, in the cut, you're going to be a priority, because you reached out to me last year, this year as well. That shows some sort of determination. So keep trying. And we have testimonies, guys who tried 60 times. You know what that means? 60 different emails, customized, personalized emails to different professors, 60 times. And the 61st time was when he hit the jackpot. And now he's studying for his PhD in one of the universities in Canada. So keep trying, don't give up. That's what I would say on that as well. Yeah. So I think I'll pass it on to Prof to continue, and then I'll come in later
Yep.
on.
We have a student here who has a background in renewable energy system engineering, including bioenergy, biomass, and solar power. So how would they get sorry, how would they get into renewable energy for graduate studies?
Okay. So this person is from renewable energy, right?
Prof, I think what we can do to save maths work is to open a little box, another box, then invite them to come up and then ask their questions. Because sometimes typing can be a bit uh, frustrating for them. But if we give them the chance to sort of ask their question verbally, probably we might understand them better.
Okay.
Because there's a limit to which you can type at the bottom.
Yeah. Martin,
Okay,
so
I can see. I can see about that.
us, yeah.
Yeah, I'll work on it. No worries.
So guys, give us a few minutes and we're gonna open another box so you can come up and ask your questions.
Okay. Now, with regards to the renewable energy, right? So one of the main things is that if somebody has a background in renewable energy, if you go to environmental engineering, environmental science, mechanical engineering, there are a lot of profs who are already doing research in these areas. Okay. Now, I'll give you one example. If you go to mechanical engineering of York University, you have like two different profs who are doing specific. Okay. Please, when you come, you mute yourself. Thank you. Right. So renewable energy, it's actually done in environmental science, in environmental engineering, in mechanical engineering, and all of that. So there's, and even in civil engineering, we have profs who are doing these kinds of research. So if you are coming from such a background, it's a matter of looking at the faculty profiles and checking for who is doing research in what area. Then in that way, you become aware of what is going on and you can write a good CV to match it up. All right. So, for example, at York University Mechanical Engineering, we have Professor Ibrahim, Professor Marina. They are all doing research in solar, in renewable energy, and all of that. In terms of, I have, I know, and thank you very much, Kapil. Kapil is online, and Dr. Nawal. Yeah, Dr. Kapil Nawal. He's actually a former student of Professor Paul O'Brien, who did renewable energy. Okay. So what I'm trying to say is that make sure you get a background in terms of check the profiles of the different profs to see what kind of work they are doing. And if it is in your area, then you can actually go ahead and apply, all right? And submit the right CV. That's it, the whole idea, okay? So remember, you have to spend some time on the CV. Do a good job on the CV. Get the CV and transcript and then send to these profs. But remember, you have to read their profiles to know what they are doing, okay? Check their profiles. Make sure you are aware of what they are doing. Make sure you spend some time to tailor the CV to suit the research they are doing before you send anything out to any prof. Okay? And I'll hand it over to Professor Ibrahim.
Yes. So just to touch on the renewable energy, it's actually a coincidence that it came up. So last semester, I actually taught distributed power generation systems as a course for the senior year, like final year students at my university at VSU. And it got very, very interesting. And I got them to design some projects around renewable energy. So for the one actually trying to come into renewable energy from the engineering perspective, there is a lot of work that needs to be done. One, what energy source are you looking at? Are you looking at the wind power? Are you looking at solar? So it's very critical. For example, if you're looking at solar, there are a lot of things involved. If you're working with me on renewable energy, essentially when you start off by building the solar panels, of course you're going to start off by building the cell, then you're going to build a module, an array, then you put that together, and that is actually a DC. It's going to output a DC power, right? Then you also have to have some knowledge about DC to DC converters. I mean the back boost converters, which still modifies the DC supply that is coming from the solar. And also you also have to have some knowledge on inverters as well, because inverters will take the DC and then convert that to AC energy, and then how to sort of refine that output, AC output, and then put that on the grid. So it's not just renewable. I don't know the kind of renewable you're talking about, but renewable from the engineering perspective is very, very comprehensive. So you have to be very careful. Someone might consider you as coming to my laboratory, but they expect you to have a knowledge on DC to DC converters, DC to AC converters, which is inverters. They also expect you to have a knowledge on the design of a power grid, which can also be very complicated. That means you have to have some background knowledge on power systems, how to design buses, how to design the different components like transformers, like capacitor banks, like transmission lines and all that. So you have to be very careful when you talk about renewable energy in engineering.
Yep, we have that student in the call now. It's R and I. I can unmute you. R and I, if you want to unmute yourself, you can ask your question.
Yeah.
Yeah, hello.
Hello?
Please, can you hear me?
Yeah, you can.
Okay. I'm actually into renewable energy systems engineering, and we studied on biomass, biogas, wind energy, and then solar power installation. So, Prof, you spoke about inverters and then the solar panels itself, and then their connections, which we had a field practical on that as well. My question was my way out to reach out to some of the professors in some of the universities. I was looking through Illinois University, Illinois State University, but then I think they have a department for biosciences. But then looking through the professors that are under the biosciences, I didn't find any professor that aligns with my interest in energy systems engineering. So I was quite finding it difficult how to reach out to the professor from that university. But then I was also looking at other universities as well. And then thank you for highlighting us on how to code email and then also send our CVs and then SOPs to the professor. So I think I've learned more from what the professors just said tonight, and then I'll use this medium to appreciate all the hard working you are sacrificing for us. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And thanks for joining us as well. So, I understand your frustration when you go to the profiles and you don't get anything that you are really interested in, all right? But one thing I would say is that go to the mechanical engineering department and check the profs. You realize that a lot of them who are there might be doing stuff that is really in alignment with what you want to do, all right? So go to mechanical engineering department and then check the profiles of the prof. I can assure you that there are profs there who are doing renewable energy research in this department. Yeah.
I think I want to chip in as well. Riri is the name, right? RIRI.
No, my name is Glenn. That's my cousin's account I'm using. I was actually using my main phone to record the session.
Okay. So renewable, probably I think one of the best places to actually go to is go to electrical engineering, Illinois State, right? And
Yeah.
then look for professors that are actually working on power.
Okay.
You'll be very, very interested. The reason why I'm saying so is when you look at the power grid, it starts from a source, right? So the source can be renewable energy. So that is where your research actually kicks off. So you sell that idea to them. Okay, now you are into power systems, and a power system actually starts from a generation plant. So it has like four main compartments. You have the power generation, you have transmission, you have distribution, and then you have the load. Your work actually starts from the generation. Instead of having, let's say, hydro, instead of having nuclear power plant, you are going to institute a renewable energy source. And that is where the future is getting to right now. So don't just look for professors that do renewable science and renewable energy science, but look at electrical engineering as well, power systems. You'll be surprised you have professors that are actually working under renewable energy.
All right.
And also some of the stuff that I said, if they sound familiar, then you're actually on the right track. Like designing a cell, a module, an array, DC to DC converters, inverters, and then building a power grid, because these are some of the things that you're going to need. You're gonna need in your work.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I have some questions here too. Somebody's asking that they got a yes from a prof, so they contacted a professor they got a yes, and then they put in the application for admission, and then they got rejected. Okay? What could be the cause? All right. Now the first thing I'll ask is, if you did you show your GPA to the prof? Did they see your CV? Did they interview you, or they just said yes? Okay. So if they just said yes, now remember, it's not every single program that you have to find a professor before you apply. And we'll talk about some of these things some other time. Okay.
Prof, I think you have to bring him up and then be asking. Probably he messed up with something. Maybe
Okay.
the prof said yes to an email. Yes, apply.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So
Benjamin is it's on Facebook, I think, and he's asking
oh,
about that. So maybe if you can type some more info about this. But it's, as Prof is saying, it could be they ask you to apply for admission, and
yeah.
then in their faculty you don't, or in their department you don't have to get a prof before you apply. I can assure you, in engineering, in chemistry, biology, physics, and all of that, I know that for 90% of the schools in Canada and US, you have to find somebody. All right. Now, for programs like economics, like business, finance, political science, and some of those programs, you do not need to find a prof before you apply. They allow all the people to apply with their packages. They rank all the applicants, and then they select the top, let's say 20%, and give them full funding. Okay. We're going to bring a prof who is from economics department to talk about this sometime. I think that will be probably during the course of the week. But in economics, in finance, management, in political science, a lot of these programs, you don't need to find a prof before you apply. You just apply for admission, send in your statement of purpose, your CV, your transcript, and then the admission committee sits down. They rank all the applications, they select the top applicants and give them funding. And then they give them to the prof to do the work for them. But for engineering, for example, it's not like that. You have to find a prof. In this case, you can even go for on my platform. I know students who go for admissions, and then they now have to go look for a prof to give them funding. All right. And that might be too late, because then you don't have enough time to go through the process. So remember, you have to find out from the department, do they need you to find a prof before you apply for admission, or you can just apply for admission and then they rank the applicants. Now, even for that scenario, the same thing applies. When the admission committee sits down, you're looking at the quality of the CV, the quality of the SOP, the GPA, and in this case, if you have a GRE, that can set you apart, as Professor Ibrahim said, because all the applicants might not have included that. And if you have a very good score, then that sets you apart from all the others. All right. But in scenarios where you have to find a prof, then you have to really send cold emails, ask if they have open positions, have a very nice CV. Never send an email to a prof without a CV or a transcript if you are looking. All right. Never send an email and I've seen that so many times where they send only the CV and other people send the transcript without the CV. All right. You can be very smart with the first class, but hey, it doesn't mean anything to some people, all right? Especially somebody like me. I want to see, okay, can they even write their a very nice CV? I want to know, what is the background? What do they have? Is it just the academic side or not? Because remember, graduate school is more about communication, all right? You're going to be writing journal papers, attending conferences, and all of that. And the things are going to move away from your first class to some other realms, all right? So make sure you are sending a CV, a transcript, and the CV is tailored to what the prof is doing. And you are also very interested in that area, because they're going to call you for an interview for sure. And we'll talk about some of these interviews some other time. And I know people are asking questions about business and all of that. We'll talk about it some other time in terms of business. Prof, Ibrahim, what do you have to add on this in terms of they sending emails to the prof and adding the CV and the transcript? Any tips?
Yes, especially when you send the email, make sure you are grammatically correct. If you're struggling to write simple sentences, that you just shot yourself in the foot. Make sure you have your tenses. If you don't even try, to be on the safer side, there are other Grammarly or something. Just pass them through those AI or whatever to give you a very nice construction or construct, and then you send it out. don't make mistakes. When you make mistakes, you just show yourself in the foot because you're trying to get into a program which is lopsided on writing, a lot writing reports, writing publications, and you just send me a simple two, 3 paragraph email, and you have everything wrong from the grammar aspect. And I think there is another question. Someone is asking about MBA. I think it's my university, so I know what's happening. So I just want him to come up and then ask the question. I can give him the answer because he applied to my university and did not get a funding.
Yep, I sent an invitation to him. But in the meantime, we have another person in here, Dolphin Wins. He's asking if health informatics students can apply for master's in engineering and get the full funding. I think we already spoke about this, but he's in the call here.
Yeah. Do you want to, Dr. Wings, do you have your question answered, or you want to do that? And then Martin can bring up the one who is asking about the MBA program at Saginaw.
Oh, okay. Please, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Wonderful. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm actually using a Wi-Fi. Unfortunately, Ghana, the light went out, so I couldn't catch the answer to my question. That is why I was repeating it in the chat box. Please, my question again. Are you only supposed to add the transcript and the CV when you are doing the code emailing, or you can as well add the SOP to it, maybe probably in your GRE if you have one?
That's a very good question. Okay, what do you add, CV and transcript, or you add the SOP GRE? Trust me, if you have all four, send it. Okay, if you have all four, why not? If you have a very good SOP, is aligned with what, again, is tailored to what the prof is doing. All right, that is really the tip here. That okay, the CV is tailored to what the prof is doing. The SOP is also tailored to what the prof is doing. In terms of your interest aligns with what they are doing, why not? Then you can add it. Prof. Ibrahim, what do you think?
Yes. I mean, go in with all that you've got, right? Your transcript, your CV, your SOP, your GRE score. Go in with everything because you have no idea what others are also bringing in, right? Yeah.
All right,
So
all
just
right.
go in with everything you've got. If the prof is really looking, they're going to look into every document that you submit.
Oh, okay, sir.
I'll play
Thank
it
you very
safe.
much.
I'll send everything that I've got.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. But then I would also want to use this platform to tell is it RRI? Yes, something the name I couldn't capture it. That I'll connect with him and get the video because because of lightouts I couldn't capture all the conversation. So I'll connect with him. So he should mind me in case I do.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome. And then we have this on, we'll put this on Facebook as well. It's always going to be on TikTok, so you can come back and watch anytime. You can follow us and then also join. And, we have some of these tips that we keep on sharing over time. So you get to see these videos and then some of these tips as well, right? Now,
Awesome.
one more thing is that emails, good, is awesome, but maybe you might not get a response sometime. Okay, so you should also be looking at other avenues like LinkedIn, where you have a very nice profile and then you can also connect with the prof and then meet them over there. But I've had instances where students even called my office. Right? They're like, "Oh, I sent you an email, I've not gotten a response, and I wanted to find out if you have any open position." It's really good to batch them. You may never know who is looking, or somebody has not even thought about hiring students for the next academic year. All right, and if you're a good candidate, it becomes something that they can actually start with. I'm always in favor of sending cold emails, not giving up. Again, the word is not giving up. And two, make sure that the CV is tailored to what the prof is doing. If you don't do that, you're going to get a no every single time. All right, because when I look at your CV and it doesn't align with the work that I'm doing, there's no way I'm going to call you for an interview. No, I won't do that. All right. So if you can't sit down and spend some time to tailor the CV to what the prof is doing, then you can keep on sending the emails. It's not going to go anywhere. All right, that's really something that I've experienced over time. Prof. Ibrahim, what do you think on this?
Yes, but again, let me bust your bubble a little bit, just for those watching. Prof is fond of recruiting people from live shows like this, so just so you know. So if so, always stay tuned, okay, and make sure you have your stuff ready, because out of the blue, I've seen him done that. Recruit two people from our WhatsApp group for PhD with funding, full funding. So this is something you guys should take note of. And what else can I add? Also, when you send out the email to the professor, I think we left something out. When is the right time to send those emails? Okay, so avoid sending an email on Mondays. Avoid sending emails on Mondays. And I will explain why. So, for example, most of us don't teach on Fridays, and we don't even access our emails on Fridays. So, Friday, there's going to be an accumulation, Saturday, Sunday. So, Monday, you're going to have an avalanche of mail sitting in your inbox. And this is what happens. You prioritize the emails. First, you look at those that are coming from faculty, those that are coming from your students, research students, those that are coming from your students that you're teaching. So the guy who wants to, who is looking for a potential supervisor is going to be at the bottom rung of the ladder. I'm not going to look at your email until I've actually addressed all those concerns. The best time to send the email, try Wednesday or Thursday. By then, I've exhausted everything. I've actually gone through all my emails, and I have some sort of breathing room, and I can access your email and then get back to you. So avoid Mondays if you can, if possible. Else, it might be lost in the mail, and then you think, okay, it means a rejection. No, you sent it at the wrong time. And also, let's also bring this to the fore. When you send your CV, try to avoid adding your nationality, your date of birth. Don't. Age. They are not needed professionally. So stay away from that as well.
No, thank you very much for bringing this up. Okay, and the reason I'm laughing is that I have some of them in my email right now. Okay, and I'm talking about as just yesterday, and I'm thinking, okay, this person has a first class, but is writing a CV with nationality, date of birth, and some of them even add religion on their CV.
Oh
This
yeah.
it's a put off. It means that this person cannot do basic research, because in this day and age, there's so many platforms where you can learn how to write a good CV. And by the way, we are going to be talking about some of these things in other videos. Okay, we're going to talk about how to have a very good CV, and then also how to craft a very good CV for these applications. Okay, but why will you add your age, your date of birth? Why will you add your nationality? Why will you? It means nothing. Okay, we are talking about skill set that you have built over the years that will help you to do the research. Those are the most important things to us. All right, your age, nationality, and all these kind of things, they mean nothing. So make sure that you are doing some research on how to do these kinds of CVs. And you have to spend some time, that's for sure. If you are not willing to spend some time to improve the quality of your CV. I have a student, this person has a second class, I think lower, and is on my platform. And they went through the process. I have some old videos on how to make academic CVs. They went through the whole thing. They were looking for a prof, they didn't get. And then they sent me an email that, oh, look, I improved my CV and now I have an employment with this company. Okay, so even though they were not looking for, they were not looking for a job, they were looking for a prof. Well, with the GPA, it was a little bit of a struggle, all right. But they still find a very good job because they spent some time to improve the CV. Okay, so please, it can help in looking for jobs. It can help in applying for some of these funding opportunities out there. If you spend some time to really work on this CV, it can be a door opener for you. All right. Now, the other thing that I will say from my end is that keep it short. The email should be concise. The keyword here is what? Tailor the CV to the research that the prof is doing. And then make sure that you never send an email alone. You have to include your CV and your transcript. Now, in Canada, GRE is not a big thing, so you are good to go if you don't have a GRE. But as Prof said, it can set you apart from other people if you write it. Okay, so if you can afford and you can write, why not go ahead and do that? And again, remember, even if the prof says yes, they're going to call you for an interview. That's very, very important. There's no way that I'm going to hire you without interviewing you. Even some of them, we give them assignments, okay? And if they do it very well, it shows that, okay, this person is really, really up to the task, right? Then we can bring them on board. So make sure that you are doing your homework, which is reading about what the prof is doing, adding a very good CV, your transcript, sending the message and keeping it short, and then getting things done. In that case, you stand a very good chance of getting, all right? Any questions from the audience, Martin? And then
Yeah, so we have another guest here. His name is Stephen. Stephen, you can unmute and ask your question.
Hello,
yeah,
a very good evening, sir. Doc, Prof, I'm really grateful for this opportunity. I saw the flyer on a friend's stats and I decided to join. You were talking about masters and doctorate and how to actually get things together. But later, I'm a business student. Later, you spoke about business students, how to actually get a master's. It's not like the science students or the engineering student, and I would like to get some advice from your end. I did business administration first degree, but the way the world is going, you can't. You just have to have a very um, dynamic kind of masters, which has business and a little bit of AI or something or technology. And I'm asking if you can advise me on that to look at certain schools that look at that so that I can be an open-minded business expert, not necessarily the old-fashioned business expert. Thank you very much.
you're welcome, Stephen. And it's good to have you here, right? So one of the main things is that okay, I'm going to talk about Canada. Prof will talk about US. So in Canada, getting full funding for MBA programs is, I would say, non-existent. Okay, because MBA is going to cost about $70,000, $90,000, and they're going to give you about $20,000, $15,000 scholarship. You have to cough out the remaining amount, right? So typically, those who come from business background, I tell them to aim for research or thesis-based master's programs in finance, management, data analytics, and those kind of things. All right, because management, MSc in management, MSc in finance, that is actually research-based or thesis-based. You might stand a chance of getting funding from a prof to be able to pursue those kinds of fields. But then if you want to go pure business, professional courses like business, law, and the medical field, if you're going to go to business, it's really challenging to get full funding to go do MBA or something like that. So I always tell people to go for the management side of things, finance side of things, analytics side of things, that or commerce, those kind of things is doable to get funding for such programs. Prof. Ibrahim, how about the US?
Oh, that's a very good question. So MBA, right? Um, so first and foremost, for MBA programs that do not require GMAT, the rest assured they have pretty much uh, no funding for it. Most of the MBA programs, it's sort of a way to generate revenue for the university. I'll be honest with you, because they don't do much research as the STEM programs do, and many of the profs do not get funding for their work. They are mainly consultants, right? So that is the more reason why you don't get funding. But what they essentially do is they tell you, oh, you have you have a partial funding, but then your deficit is so huge that what they're actually offering as scholarship is just a drop in the bucket. So in short, you're just uh, uh, you're just a fee paying student. It's not a scholarship. It's like okay, let's just give you a portion of it, but then your deficit is so huge that you can't even call that a scholarship. So that's something you have to understand. But on the other hand, those that actually do require GRE, sometimes they do have funding for the programs. And it is very, very competitive because of the nature of how MBAs are set up. Normally, they don't have funding, but those that do, very, very competitive. So you will apply and won't get it. That is why I said I was referring to someone at the comment section to come up for me to explain what is happening at SVSU. Yeah. So it's unfortunate. MBAs rarely give scholarships. They do. It's not that they don't. They do, but it's very competitive.
Okay. Thank you very much for the clarification. And then I also have somebody who's asking about drafting a CV to reflect the faculty's interest. Okay, so Capon is asking, what do we mean by drafting a CV that reflects a faculty's interest or a prof's interest? Okay, now I'll briefly explain that. It's that I'm doing a research in additive manufacturing, okay, metal additive manufacturing, in machine learning, in biomedical engineering. So if someone is sending an email to me with their CV and they are coming from material science background, computer science, software engineering, mechanical engineering, aerospace engineering, the CV should actually demonstrate how the skill sets they built up over the years will be able to, they can actually apply those skill sets to do the research that I'm doing. All right. So if you tell me that you did project management, even though you have a background in mechanical engineering, you've been doing project management work, then I'm thinking, can this person be a good candidate for the work that I'm doing? Okay. So when I say tailor the CV to suit what the prof is doing, means that make sure your background one aligns with what they are doing in the first place. If you are from material science and I'm also a prof in material science, we definitely have something in common. All right, we have a similar background. If you are from mechanical engineering, aerospace engineering, if you are from material science, materials engineering, any of these engineering fields, you can tailor a CV to bring out the common interest in terms of what I'm doing and the skill set you bring on the table. And the reason is that nobody wants to pick somebody who doesn't have the background. That's the first thing. Okay, I'm not going to pick a student who doesn't have a background to do my research. I want somebody who has a background. That's one. And the second thing is that I want somebody who can actually align the CV with what I'm doing, because it shows that this person even knows what I'm doing in the first place. Okay, so if you see that I'm doing research on material characterization, metal 3D printing, and then also biomedical engineering, then your CV reflects something that is on, let's say, power systems engineering, even though you're also from engineering. It shows that you are not a direct match for what I'm doing, and your CV does not reflect my interests. Okay, that's what we mean by that. I will be talking more about it before I hand it over to Ibrahim to also add. But one more thing, somebody said that can they have a first class and can they get a PhD from the undergrad, a direct PhD? And I'll say yes. I've funded a lot of students into my PhD program right from the undergrad, especially if you have a first class, all right? And the interest is there. In fact, I have one who is coming this September from KNUS. So yes, profs will do that if you have a very good GPA. Over to you, Professor Ibrahim.
Yes, first and foremost, on the direct PhD, it's possible. It's done. It's very popular in the United States. What you have to understand is you still have this inbuilt masters within the program. So it's not that it's direct PhD. At some point, you're going to be told you've done your masters. It's just that on your certificate is going to say you have a direct PhD, but at some point you're going to know that you've actually accomplished a master's. Now you're starting a PhD. So it's actually inbuilt. although it's direct. Because at some point, when students, the direct PhD sometimes can be very dangerous. So what essentially happens is when students are having difficulty, then we let them graduate with a master's and then get out. Yeah, but it's possible. But make sure you're very, very good because not many students, not many professors would actually take you for a direct PhD. We would prefer someone who has done his master's because now the person has some sort of research experience and know what to do. When you're coming directly from bachelor's into the PhD and you're not very, very smart, you can be in trouble. The reason being that if you go at it in stages, it really helps. And I'm going to explain. From your bachelor's degree, and then you apply for your master's degree, and then let's just say you completed your master's degree. If you want to pursue PhD, if you struggled in your master's degree, don't attempt a PhD. You're going to be in trouble. So that is why actually the straight PhD can be a bit difficult, can be a bit risky. But then again, what we actually use to access people that are fit for direct PhD in the United States, we're going to look at your GRE score. Of course, you have to score very high on that test score. Because if you score very high, that means your analytical writing skills is on point, your critical thinking skills is on point, your quantitative, your verbal, all on point. Then you are a great candidate for success. Yeah, so it's possible. Now, I think there is also one thing that I have to draw your attention to. For example, when you are sending emails to professors for potential advisorship. Okay. Now, let me just take my university, for example. If you apply to, let's say, my university, and you send the email to me, do not send the same email to my other colleagues in the same department. We talk a lot, we sit for coffee, we share notes. Now, this is this guy who came to me, oh, I want to work with you because I found your research very interesting, blah, blah, blah. I think I fit in this area and I can do great. Then, Prof is also in the same department with me. You send the same email to him. And then we meet for coffee and it's like, oh, I met this guy, great guy. He sent me this email wanting to work with me. Seriously? You just shot yourself in the foot. What you can do is, if possible, just send one email to me and then look elsewhere. In America, there are 6,600 universities and colleges. There's always going to be another university that has professors that you can work with, not in the same department. It's going to be a disaster. Yeah, that's what I want to say for now.
No, that's really Martin. Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. There was another person. I don't know where he went now. There's one of the Sir. I think it's Sir Ralph. SNRL.
Senior up.
Hello. Please, can I talk?
Yes.
Okay, good evening, sir. I'll first and foremost commend you for what you are doing for us. Dr. Issah, I'm Raphael. I sent you an email on LinkedIn. I think you sent me your contact, but I haven't reached out to you yet. Yeah. Well, I'm in Canada at the moment, and I have a 2 master's degree from Ghana in social sciences, one in development management from Tech and one in land management and administration from UCC. I want to pursue a PhD in sustainability management. So I reached out to one of the professors and she was advising I start with a master's degree just to understand the culture here before probably thinking of doing the PhD. It didn't actually sound well with me, considering having 2 masters with this research experience, those kind of stuff. So I wasn't really sure what to do. So meanwhile, I've done my credential evaluation assessment here from West. and both master's degree were given to me as a master's in Canadian equivalent. So I was thinking, having done that, I should be able to do a PhD straight away. I don't know what advice you also want to give me. Just like what Dr. Issah was saying, I decided to send an email to maybe 2 professors or 3 professors in the same faculty. So that at least if I don't get this person, I can get, one person. So as I speak with you, the reason why I haven't been able to even reach doctor is that I'm trying to draft my statement of intent and summarize my projects, my master's thesis proposal, so that I can just, go to the individual professors or lecturers and just be sending them the same email with the hope that at least if I don't get this, I can get this person too. Yeah, so I don't know what advice you can give me, whether I have to focus on trying to get a PhD straight or to do masters before I transition to a PhD. Thank you.
Welcome, and thanks so much for joining us today. Okay, so before I answer that question, I want to know, what did you do for your undergrad? And I think I missed the 2 masters again. So and I want to know, what did you do for your undergrad, and then your masters, and what you want to do now.
Okay, the undergrad, I did social sciences from University of Cape Coast.
Okay.
Yeah, it was geography and regional planning. But for the masters, I did a development management, master in development management from Tech, and UCC too. I read the same masters in land policy and administration. But then I was working in Ghana in the mining sector as a community relations professional. So I also have an 8 years working experience as a community relations officer. Yeah.
And then what do you want to do for the PhD?
Pardon? Sorry.
What do you want to do for the PhD?
Initially the thought was to do something in sustainability management.
Okay.
But then when I go to Canada here and doing some few inquiries, somebody to also advise me if I can do PhD in social work, because the community relations more of has something to do with social work kind of stuff. So I was thinking between either sustainability management or social work. But I think I'm drawn much into the social work for now, that if I get the opportunity.
And the prof that you sent the message to, what department was this prof in?
I think she's from the sustainability management. Yeah, I chanced on her LinkedIn post, and then I sent her a DM, and then she responded with her email, and I told her my interest. Yeah.
So it's her department part of, let's say, because I'm trying to, I want to know what faculty or department they belong to.
Okay, I think she belongs to the sustainability management. She's a professor at the sustainability department.
Okay, yeah, because typically with your social science and then with your development stuff, of course, doing something in policy, something in management is not far off, right? But it depends on, the reason I'm asking, I have profs in civil engineering who are also doing sustainability management. I have profs who are in business school who are doing research in that area. And then I have profs who are in the social sciences who are also doing research in that area. You know what I mean? So sometimes the departments and then the faculties, if there's a switch from, let's say, social sciences to engineering, then the prof is going to say, oh, no, go do this again because I'm not quite sure you have the background to do this. It doesn't mean you're not, it's because of the switch that is going on, all right? And that is why, Professor Dr. Kapil Nawal says that Ivy Business School is very famous for sustainability management research. Again, if it is in business, then they are probably wondering about your background if you have the prerequisite background to do a PhD in that area, all right? That's from what I know might be a good course for that. But I don't think you really have to do the PhD, the master's again. If you go with something from your background, you should be able to do the PhD. That shouldn't be any, there shouldn't be any problem at all. Okay, Professor Ibrahim, what's your take on this?
Yes. Okay. I will be very blunt, and then I'll probably ask 1 or 2 questions before I proceed. So if I sort of understood what you actually told us, you wanted to apply for a PhD, and then the prof wants you to do and starts from the master's level, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What I sense here is someone is trying to tread cautiously, trying to save his funds. And my next question is, what is your GPA, if you don't mind me, if you don't mind me asking?
I think I have to, because is it for masters or for undergrad?
Or everything, because
Okay, for undergrad, I graduated with 3.3, which is second class upper in Ghana. For the masters, for UCC, I got distinction, which is first class, 3.6 over 4 for UCC. For tech, I haven't really checked, but it should be strong upper. Yeah, but for no UCC, I have distinction 3.6, and I have all my transcript here.
Okay. So many things can be a contributing factor, but what I think is someone is trying to tread cautiously to save his or her money, right? So they want to start off. It is very difficult to put someone on a PhD and then trying to kick the person out, because it would take a very long time for you to know whether the person is productive or not. By then you've spent or dissipated your funding account. But at the master's level, maximum tops 2 years, you can easily get rid of somebody. So they want to, and probably what you sent them in terms of research and all that, right? It probably doesn't qualify for, because remember you've done 2 masters, okay? So probably the person is looking for some sort of cutting edge research, right? Which he doesn't or she doesn't find in your application package. So the person is probably wondering, is he really fit for advanced research? So you know what, let me start him off from the master's level to see if he can be a good fit for my PhD research. So that is what she's trying to do. At the master's level, they don't have to spend a lot of money, probably nothing on you, and see how it goes. You get the point. And again, also remember the truth is, and I'll say this bluntly, they don't really have faith in our credentials coming from Africa. That is the reality, unfortunately. So that is also a contributing factor. And the reputation of our schools. Trust me, if you were coming from MIT, coming from some university in America elsewhere, they wouldn't ask you to go back and do a master's degree. So that is also a factor. There are many things that are contributing or conspiring to make for her to say what she's saying. Okay, it doesn't make sense.
Okay,
I want to ask you one question.
Let me add this one too. Did you get any publication in both masters?
No, I haven't done any publication. I didn't do.
Then you.
So because of that, I was trying to read some of the stuff online, the publication articles. So I decided
for 2 masters, I can equate that to a full PhD.
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
Yeah, Doc. So as I speak with you, I'm in talks with one of my guys to help me publish at least one of my projects. I remember after completing the one I did in tech, actually my supervisor even wanted us to publish it because he had interest in my topic. However, because I didn't really think far, like I'll pursue PhD, this kind, I just decided to, ignore. So when I had the interest to pursue PhD, I just decided, no, let's go back and see if we can publish it. I don't know.
No,
Yeah.
It's in some of my, so on my Facebook platform, I talk about this a lot. If you have a master's already and you're looking for a PhD, there's no, for me, there's no way I'm going to call you for an interview or even going to respond to your email if you don't have the general publication. I won't. And I don't care whether you're coming from the US or you're coming from Russia or wherever you're coming from, the quality of the person who has a master's and is looking for a PhD is determined by their ability to publish their work.
That's it. That's it. Publication is all that matters.
It's really the whole idea.
That's how I get promoted. That's how he gets promoted.
Yeah. Really, why is a prof interested in sponsoring your master's or your PhD? It's because I want you to publish the work we are going to do, and that is how I get your reputation. All right. So if I see that this person is not productive because we don't have a single journal publication from 2 masters, you are lucky they even responded to the email. And I'm just being blunt here on this. All right.
Okay.
I tell people that please write your journals, the work that you did in the make sure you publish them. And then even if it is a conference, it's fine, as opposed to not having a single one of it at all, because it becomes a challenge if you want to move, further. That's really the whole idea.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Martin,
Yes, sir.
are there more questions?
Yeah, Miss Ponzi has a lot of questions.
Sure.
Miss Ponzi, would you like to unmute yourself? It's about STEM programs such as a Master of Science in Management and Supply Chain, and that's the kind of topic.
Okay.
Miss Ponzi?
All right. So one of the main things is that if you are looking for supply chain, if you're looking for master of business, I see the question here, master of science management and supply chain and all of that. Yeah, please go ahead. See your mute yourself. Go ahead.
Hello. Yeah, so good evening or good afternoon, wherever you are. Please, my question is about STEM designated programs such as Master of Science in Management, Supply Chain, and in Business Analytics. Are there funding for that program since they are STEM programs?
So for Canada, I would say yes. Okay, in terms of Master of Science in Management, in supply chain, and all of that. Of course, it's very competitive. Okay, because you have so many people with MBA background or business background or commerce background who want to go into these areas. So the competition is really high. And beside that, if you have your things right and if you contact a lot of profs, I'll say yes, there is a chance of getting funding for the Master of Business Management, Science, Supply Chain, Business Analytics, and all of that. It's there, it's possible, but you have to put in the work. And in this case, this is where Prof. Ibrahim's stuff on GRE becomes very important. If you're able to write some of these stuff, it helps to set you apart from all the other applicants, But I can actually say confidently that it's very competitive. There's not much to go after in terms of funding, all right? So you have to have your profile way up there to get these kinds of money in these areas. Professor Ibrahim.
Okay, so first and foremost, which country are you looking at, America or Canada?
America.
Okay, so for America, yes, there are lots of funding opportunities for those STEM programs. In fact, that's also going to be something that we're going to be talking about in our subsequent episodes or lives. So there are so many kinds of scholarships here in the United States. We have full tuition scholarship, partial. We have renewable scholarships. We also do have one-time grants, and I can also categorize these scholarships as merit-based. That is when you have a very strong academic credential with a good GPA, good GRE score. We also have scholarships that are for athletics. We also have scholarships that are for those coming from arts, and that is the merit base. We also do have need-based scholarships. We also do have underrepresented scholarships. For example, if you find yourself in historically black universities like Howard, like Tuskegee, they offer scholarships for blacks for being black. And they also do have, we do also do have international student scholarships that almost every international student is eligible for. Sometimes it may not cover everything. It leaves you with some deficit, but it's good. It's better than nothing. And we also do have scholarships that are actually specific to a certain program as well. So what am I saying? It's basically based on what you have, what you bring to the table, what you present to us. It must have you must have good GPA. If it requires a GRE score or any standardized test or GMAT, try to ace it as well. Definitely, you're going to get a scholarship.
Okay.
Okay,
But the
thank you
scholarships
very
are not
much.
for free. It is very, very competitive because in today's day and age, first degree is commonplace. It's pretty much everywhere. Everybody has a bachelor's degree. That is when you have to stand out. You have to jump off the page. And you do that by taking nice tests, by making sure you study well, get a good GPA.
Okay. So with a GPA, my GPA is pretty good. I'm planning of writing a GRE.
How good is it, if you don't mind me asking?
Okay, so I have a 3.8.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, from UCC. And I graduated as the best graduating student in my program as procurement and supply chain management.
Oh, then in that case, actually, there's something funny. Sometimes if you're a very good student, right, the scholarships come looking for you. You don't. Just have to apply.
All right, okay.
Just have to apply.
But do you advise I should also write the GRE?
I would always recommend the GRE. The reason being that it makes an otherwise impossible admission possible.
Okay,
Right? All your wrongs in your undergrad. You have
okay,
3.0. What if someone has 4.0, 3.9? It's
okay,
possible in America, right?
okay,
So you may want to add a GRE. You may want to add a GRE to that as well. I would
okay.
recommend. Most of the with a GRE, let me just clarify this. It was a strict requirement back in the days pre-COVID, right? It was after COVID. It was very difficult for people in a confinement to take the exam, so they waived off GRE for most of the schools. Like 50% of the colleges and universities in America now do not require GRE, but they're going to reinstate this GRE thing, a requirement by next year. So you can apply to a university that do not require GRE, but be rest assured if someone also has 3.8 plus a GRE, they're going to consider that individual ahead of you. So
Okay,
I would
all right.
recommend you take the GRE.
All right, okay. Thank you very much. And what about transcript evaluation? Do you advise? Because it's like some schools require transcript evaluation from whether Ways or Spantran or NACE's agents, such as the rest. Do you think it's advisable to evaluate my transcripts?
I wouldn't even say it's advisable. It's a requirement. The schools that do not require the evaluation, they have in-house evaluation system that they're going to translate to a 4.0 system, right? Some schools don't. They just want you to do all the work, just present them on a 4.0 scale so that they can have an equitable assessment of your worth or your performance. So I would actually go to West to have the evaluation done and add that to my CWA. It really helps a lot.
All right, thank you very much. But Ways is quite expensive, so I was looking at
Well, it's business, right?
Spantran.
Yeah, it's business actually. Education is business. If you care to know, it's business. Yeah. Some of the institutions are, some of the universities and colleges are tuition driven. That should tell you it's business. That's why most of the schools don't give funding. They make their revenue from off you. So saying it's very expensive, that means, well, it is what it is. Someone
So
has to.
okay, but I know maybe there are other options such as Spantran and IEE, but I know Ways is the most common and most accepted. Because some schools, with the research I made, some schools they require only Ways, but some too just require any other evaluation that is in NACE's NACES, something like that. Yeah, so I was just thinking, oh,
Let me just simplify things for you. You graduated top of your class, right? There's a high chance that you're going to get admission, right? And whatever you put into it today is seed, and you're going to reap the benefits someday because you're going to recoup whatever you put in because you're going to get funding, comes with a lot of perks, money, stipends, and what is probably $100, $200 down the road, right?
okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So one of the things that I'll add to this, in the interest of time, I think we'll find a way of answering some of these questions as well. Please, you can watch the video, and we're going to bring up some other exciting programs in terms of topics on this whole thing. All right. Now, with words evaluation and all of that, you have to check whether the school requires it or not, because some universities have their own evaluation scheme. So my university, for example, York University, once you apply, we send your transcript to the admissions office. They have their own evaluation scheme. They're going to evaluate and give you their own assigned GPA. So I've had students from KNUST, from University of Ghana, and they have a first class, which is like A, and then they go to the university system, it becomes a B plus. Okay, and that is because their system is built on the last 2 years of your academic study. So they are going to look at your fourth and your third year, the quality of the GPA from your third and fourth year. They're going to use your grades from the third and fourth year to evaluate you. All right. So some schools have their own system where they do their own evaluation. In that case, they are not going to ask you to bring words evaluation or anything like that. They are going to ask if your stuff is not in English, then you should have a translation done. But if it is in English, they're going to go ahead and do their own evaluation and then assign you their own GPA, which is going to determine whether you get admission or not. Okay, so check with the school to see whether you have those kinds of options, and also make sure that you have a nice pattern. Again, having the GPA is not the only requirement. Okay, the CV is still a good requirement. The SOP is still a good requirement. You need all of that.
Yeah. Okay.
Those conditions. Okay. All right. So, Professor Ibrahim, in the interest of time, I think what we'll do is that we are going to answer all these questions in the comment section as we go. So if you have questions, please type them in the comment section, and we are going to spend some time to answer all these questions. All right. And we'll be coming up with some other topics on how to write the CV. For those who have gotten a call for an interview, how do you go about it in terms of the interview? We're going to talk about when is a good time to look, when is not a good time to look, and all these kind of things. So please make sure that you subscribe to our channel, follow us on Facebook, on TikTok, and then also if you have questions, please send them our way. Okay, the goal is for us to support your journey. And if you have questions with regards to some of these things, please don't hesitate at all. Send them to Professor Ibrahim, send them to myself. We'll be more than happy to answer them. And we are going to bring other professors from other departments. Okay, so we've spoken with somebody from the MBA, somebody from business school, somebody from economics, social work, all right, the social sciences. They're going to join us. So keep watching this space. We're going to bring you more of these things. As a last point for me, before Professor Ibrahim says his last point, is that we want to support you, especially for somebody who has a first class or a second class upper. Your chances are really high. We want to be able to support you. We want to cheer you on as you actually go for this. I did the same thing, and then I got an offer. I came in, and things went the way they did. All right, and we know that you can also do it. And that's why we want to bring up this series to support you as well. Okay? So don't hesitate to send in your questions if you have any. Professor Ibrahim, any last words or any advice?
What I would actually say that you should actually stay tuned because there's more coming, especially those that are actually looking for hunting for scholarships. That would also be very interesting when we start touching on scholarships. For example, you being black, right? There are so many scholarships that you have access to, both in the United States and in Canada. Let me just give you a teaser. In Canada, there is a scholarship called Sankofa, and those that are Ghanaians that are connected to this platform will understand what it means. It is a scholarship in one of the universities. Waterloo University, for example. You have a scholarship called Sankofa, right? There is also another scholarship in Canada called Mensa Foundation Scholarship. So there are so many scholarships that you have access to as a black student, both in Canada and the US, but then that's going to be a story for another day. So guys should stay tuned.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Professor Ibrahim, for spending your Saturday afternoon with us. It would have been nice to be at the beach, but hey, this is also important. So we really appreciate you for coming. Mati, Yasin, and also Michael Nazenga. Thank you so much for spending your Saturday afternoon with us.
No
We
worries.
know that this is a time that you could have been doing other things, but you decided to spend it with us. We really do appreciate it.
Prof, I think someone just dropped a very interesting comment. Said it would be great to have a session on how to write publications. That's
Oh,
it.
oh yeah. That's something we can definitely touch on. Okay, it will be nice, and we would love to do that. And please, on our spaces as well, we do send some short videos on some of these things. Okay, so please make sure you follow us and then get some of these tips. And I can assure you that it will happen. That is, if you put in the work. All right, that's all I can say. It will happen if you have the right GPA and you put in the work. Don't give up. You're going to make it happen because you put in the work and you have all the requirements. All right. And thanks everyone. We really appreciate you joining us this afternoon. Thank you.
There's people in the chat asking when can they expect the next session?
We're going to send a flyer around. Okay.
Okay, yeah. So just stay tuned and then
Send a flyer around. All right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. It's been a long journey, but hey, it's good. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.